social media has been used to propagate, the evil and the nonsense. Oh, everything wrong in the world is a Jew's fault. It's Israel's fault. And so people just say that with no facts whatsoever, and it makes them sleep better at night. They feel better and say, oh yeah, that's what the world believes. No, it's not what the world believes, and it's certainly not what the God of the Bible believes, because 202 times he's called the God of Israel. He's never called the God of America. He's never called the God of Africa, the God of Iran. He's called the God of Israel. And so to take that away from the Jewish people, I think it's a heresy, and I think it's politically, spiritually, and emotionally dangerous. And that's just where we are. But it's obvious that Hamas is stealing the aid. We talked yesterday to some private security people that work boots on the ground in Gaza often, and they're from a totally different country. And we asked them, we said, what was your biggest observation? And they said the fact that the media has lied. We've gone into Gaza, there's food everywhere, but their leaders are taking it from the people. And so I very boldly tell people on Twitter and various platforms, look, the only starvation that's really happening in Gaza are the hostages. And this is a war that was not started by Israel. But I can assure you, Israel will finish it, and Israel will win. And people don't like to hear that. But I'm going to be on the right side of history. And the people that stand with the Jewish nation will be hated most, but we will be on the right side of history, both politically and biblically. I think you can make great waves if Israel would be more open to a better PR situation. If they would take, for example, it doesn't have to be me, but I've talked to Gilad about this, but somebody with a very large voice, we do movies in America and books, and we have 4.5 million, followers on, Facebook platforms. If they could take somebody that is a voice and drop them right in the middle of Gaza with a camera in their hand and say, I'm going to tell you the truth, verse by verse, line by line. I'm going to show you the food. I'm going to interview the people. I think Israel would do better to bring the younger generation to their side. That's who they've lost. Israel's lost the younger generation because of TikTok, because of X, because of Facebook. But if they would they don't even have to put a lot of money into it. I know Qatar is putting a lot of money into all of the nonsense against Israel. If Israel would just get the right people with big platforms, I think they could win this war from a social media standpoint. But America gives a lot of money to a lot of people. The only people that are complaining about it is when they find out, oh, we're giving this money to Israel, right? And so then they get mad. Then they get nervous. Oh, we're feeding the people that are starving the Gazans. And again, they would not have that mindset. And they've never had that mindset until social media told them to believe that. Right? And it's not like Israel has to have the money. Regardless of what people say, this is a safe nation, it's a prosperous nation, it's a growing nation, it's a blessed nation. God promised that as more Jewish people come back to the land, the ground would prosper, the crops would grow, there'd be springs in the desert, all of these prophecies. And when you come here and see it, you get a different feel. So the average person, 95% of people that complain about Israel have never and will never be here. And I think that's an injustice. I think they should not be able to, or at least say the things that they're saying unless they come here for a visit, because a visit will change everything. They'll find out very quickly the Palestinians are not oppressed, they're not slaves, they're not beat down. They have some of the largest houses and neighborhoods and villages in the entire region, and they feel very safe. I guarantee you they feel more safe and free under an Israeli rule than they would under a Palestinian rule. There's no doubt. What people don't realize is that, even pre-war, Israel was busing so many, like 180,000 Palestinians into areas to work and to have good, salaries for their family. But you can go to those same villages and you'll have signs, no Jews, no Israelis. And so it's a very one-sided, skewed element that people don't understand.
I heard from a lot of people that research Christianity that you either hate us or really love us. Why is this dichotomy between the love and hate? Why it can't be just, cold relation?
Sure. I think a lot of it, if not most of it, is ignorance. People think they know the Bible until they come to the land of the Bible, and then it begins to take on a new reality. Now, one of the things, just to be very candid, is I think the Jewish mindset, the Israeli mindset, is skewed I think I can say this on your broadcast, but it's skewed towards Christianity because of Catholicism, right? We're not Catholics, but when you go through Jerusalem, everything's Catholic, everything's a statue, a cross, an idol. Christianity came here to conquer the land, but that's not real biblical Christianity. That's a lot of man-made idol worship. So I can see why a Jewish person would think of a Christian, wow, you're disobeying the Bible. You're worshiping graven images and statues, and the Catholic Church has not been known to be very Jewish friendly at times. I think maybe the new Pope, because he's an American, he might have a little bit less anti-Semitism, but they've been very skewed from the Catholicism standpoint towards Jews. And so I think Christians have this mindset in America, well, Jews hate us, and they don't care anything about what we believe, but really Jews have this thinking in their mind that we all think the same way that those Catholic, Church of the Holy Sepulchre and all of that, which I would call utter nonsense, right? We're not that way, because real Bible Christians, real evangelicals, we have such an understanding of the Old Testament that we cannot separate Israel from the Bible, even from the New Testament. Even if a person doesn't want to believe in Yeshua, if they don't believe what we would call the gospel, it doesn't matter, because if I believe what I say I believe, then why wouldn't I love the Jewish people? Because if I really believe, for example, that Jesus is the Messiah, regardless of what people reject or say, if I honestly in the core of my heart believe that, then to me, the Messiah, the Mashiach coming here is a second coming, but to the Jewish people it's a first coming, but it's the same person. So why wouldn't I love the Jewish people? Why wouldn't I want to help them and support them and implement their ideas and their theological concepts? Does that make sense? And so I think a real Bible Christian cannot divorce the Israeli people, the land and the people, because the covenant is with the land and the people, right? It's with the land and the people according to God, and it's an eternal covenant. We cannot separate that from the Bible. And Christians that pretend to believe the Bible, oh yeah, we love Israel, but the biggest problem in America right now is what we call replacement theology, that the church replaced Israel, that Israel is no longer prophetically important, and now the church and Israel are the same. No, we absolutely are not. We are not the same.
It's a really old thinking, the replacement theory. Theology?
Yeah, replacement theology. It is a theory. It's been around for a long time.
It's really old.
But it's ridiculous, because we have not replaced the Jewish people, right? We have not replaced Israel. The church is separate, and both of them have a prophetic appointment with God, but not one without the other. We have to have each other. And so I think for maybe people like you or like Gilad or like all of these Orthodox rabbis, that they know I'm a pastor, they know what I believe, but we love each other, we're friends, we're working together, our church is financially supporting Red Heifer program, rebuilding of the Third Temple, all of these things that can be very hot topics, right? But we see the importance of partnering with the Jewish people, and when they meet people like us, they're like, okay, there's a difference about you, because I have no ambition, I have no motive, I'm not in this for money, for clicks, for shares, for likes. I'm in it for two things, for God and for Israel. I want Israel to prosper, because to this day, they are still the chosen people of God. And for some reason in America, that used to be okay to say. But today, that is a very polarizing statement to make. But I'll still make it, because it's the facts. So like in America, for example, I'm on the biggest media shows on the planet defending Israel. And these people are very anti-Semitic at many times. And the problem is some of the biggest players in the game have switched. You take people like Stu Peters, the Hodge twins, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene. These people at one time, you go back and watch their videos, Israel, 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 and now they are, I just call them flaming Jew haters. And it's so discouraging to watch, because they have the ear and the eyes of so many people in that generation. So I've come out very strong against all of them. I used to be on their shows and want to have them on my show. I won't have anything to do with them other than to argue publicly and debate the issue of Israel, because all they want to talk about are the Hamas talking points. All they want to talk about is starvation in Gaza. So we've got to have some very open dialogue like this. And I think even on a broader scale, it's very unusual for a lot of people over here to see an evangelical pastor meeting with multiple rabbis and us getting along, because we believe 90% of the same thing. There's some things that we're going to disagree with, but as far as the Old Testament is concerned, we're spot on. We believe the exact same stuff. We just come about it at a different angle. but we also have the same landing spot. And I think if we can have dialogue like this, both here and there, it's going to help Israel a ton.
Except doing good media. What else can we do? Maybe strategically, maybe like on the ground, like the war in Gaza.
Yeah.
Let's say, if it was like more brutal and the shorter war, I think that Israel would be doing better in the media sphere.
Yeah.
Because it will be short,
very
brutal,
so.
maybe deadly.
Yeah.
But people don't have really the patience for long wars, even though it's not their wars. My friends got killed, not their friends. Mm-hmm. So what do they care?
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I think the longevity of it is what has been the bad public relations nightmare for Israel. Because, you would probably believe the same thing. I think it should have been very swift, very quick, be done, and let's get our hostages home and be done with it. I came out very strong. We had always supported Israel, and I had been invited here many times. But October the 7th, it kind of changed everything for me and for my wife, for the church, and it really emboldened us for the Jewish people. And of course, I got to see a lot of that horrific footage that, a lot of people haven't seen. But the longevity of drawing this thing out has not been good for Israel. And so I think Netanyahu and everybody that he's working with, I know they've said, we're going to go in, just take the whole strip. It should have been done long ago. Just get it done, stop the bleeding, and move forward. Because even people can be mad politically, but biblically, Gaza will be 100% Jewish again. They should have never gave it up when they gave it up. It was the worst thing that ever happened to Gaza when it quit being Jewish, because they burned down all your stuff and stripping all the, copper wires. And it didn't take 24 hours for the Palestinians to receive something that they said they wanted, but to disrespect it overnight. And now look at what happened. And people say, oh, look how beautiful Gaza used to be, and now it's a desolation. Well, let me tell you why Gaza was so beautiful. Because Jews built it. Because Israel built Gaza to be as beautiful as it was, and then they left it. And what people don't recognize is IDF soldiers had to drag Jewish people out of their homes. See, in America, we don't understand this. They forcibly made them vacate to give the Palestinians what they wanted. And then what did they get? They got something good, turned it into something horrific, and now we're in war. And I believe Israel should have just went in and just dealt with the whole thing quickly and swiftly. And I think because they haven't, it's a bad look.
Actually, there's something else that I heard the other week, because we are now not celebrating, but I don't remember the word. We are 20 years after the evacuation of Gaza. Mm-hmm. We commemorate this horrible event, and I heard from someone that was in agriculture in the Gaza Strip that he got a phone call like a month after he was evacuated from his home. And it was one of his workers, a Palestinian worker that was working for him for 10 years. So he had the expertise. He knew what he's doing. It was the same, it was the same plant. Everything was the same, except that Jews didn't control the land. And he called and he said, nothing's growing. We give the same water, the same everything, and nothing grows.
Wow.
What can we do better? And it's like the old prophecy from the Bible that the land, if it wouldn't be Israeli or Jewish, it wouldn't be prosper.
100%. And people get mad when they hear that, but it's in the Bible. You cannot change it. It's going to happen that way.
Do you know?
And so you have these college campus students in America that are so ignorant. I fault their parents. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Number one, they don't know what river. They don't know what sea, and they have no idea that what that means is the eradication of Israel. That's what that statement means. Wipe out the Jews and we will be free. Well, first of all, Palestinians are more free in Israel than they would be in any other Middle Eastern country on the planet. It's the only democratic state around. And secondarily, it's predictive, it's prophetic that this land belongs to God, and these people, if you will, on the other side, they're never going to be happy until they get it. So they're never going to be happy because God's not going to give it to them. This land belongs to the Jewish people. And so the ignorance in America is nauseating because they think everybody here is oppressed and they're slaves and they're beat down and they're starving to death. Whereas, again, drive through a Palestinian neighborhood if you're able to. They have big houses, lots of stuff. They've taken over. People don't understand. You have 45,000 people that live inside the walls of the old city. 45,000 people. Only 10,000 are Jewish. Right? Then 10,000 Christians, and that's kind of a loose terminology. Then 25,000 Islamic people, and everybody's kind of living in peace. And when people come here, they're shocked by that. And I think that's why a lot of people won't come, because they know when they come to Israel, their narrative will be destroyed.
This is the reason?
Yeah, I think it's a big reason. I think they know if they show up that they will not be able to bark the way that they're barking, because they're going to find out, we've been lied to. 95% of everything I say about Israel is through the lens of Scripture, through the Old Testament, right? Let's just, of course I believe in Yeshua, of course I believe in the New Testament, but let's just say the 39 books of the Old Testament, Genesis to Malachi. I tell them, look, everything I believe has to be viewed through that lens. So politically, economically, whether it's war or whatever, I have to, when they have me on their shows, even as people who aren't believers, I have to let them know I'm going to always come back to the foundation of the Bible. I'm always going to come back to the Torah. I'm always going to come back to this is what the prophets said. So if they don't like that, that's kind of my rule going into it. But there's plenty of talking points even without without the Bible. And again, you can just show people what is actually happening here, but they don't want to hear that. They want to believe starvation. They want to believe genocide, because it gives them a reason to hate Jewish people. The Jewish people spit on Christians and they hate Christians and they're bombing churches and they're blah, blah, blah. It's all they hear, and it's so constant. So the videos of Hamas stealing the aid, for example, that doesn't get shared. They'll see that, that's AI. But all this other nonsense apparently is not AI, and people just want to believe it, because the Jewish people for 4,000 years have always been the scapegoat of history. Everybody wants to use them as the bad guys. You're the bad guys, you're the bad guys, you're the bad guys. And here's what I tell people. You take the Red Sea crossing, you take manna from heaven, you take any miracle in the Bible just about that you want to. The biggest miracle in the entire world is the fact that the Jewish people still exist. They've been the most hated, the most misunderstood, the most judged, criticized, and persecuted people on the planet. And what do? They flourish. Having children like rabbits, right? They flourish. And all over the world, you still have this small group of people that are still the sons and daughters and in the covenant promise of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the devil cannot stop them, no matter what he does. No matter how many Hitlers, no matter how many Hamans, it doesn't matter. God always has a Esther. God always has a Daniel, a Shadrach, a Meshach, and Abednego. He always has a Cyrus, right? He always has somebody that's going to come to the aid of the Jewish people. Always. Well, there's a movement right now in America from those of us that are very politically conservative. The American government needs to consider the Muslim Brotherhood an absolute terrorist organization. And the fact that they don't is very telling. They need to say something about that. Europe's finding out very, very quickly. Europe is being completely overrun. So the people that would, for example, go to our church where I minister, where I lead, they would all understand the issues. We have a large congregation and a very large following, so they would understand where we are with the terrorist understanding and the difference between, Israel and Islam. But for the most part, people are just accepting it. Oh, yeah, they're just family. Let them believe what they want to. And that's how they reproduce so rapidly, and that's how they overtake a civilization. I was just speaking at a church in London not long ago. London has fallen. Paris has fallen. Places in Germany, we were just there a minute. It's falling to Islam, and America is getting very, very close. There are places in Texas, there's places in Dearborn, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota that are nearly fully Islamic. They're trying to institute all of their Sharia law, and people are like, well, that'll never happen. No, it is happening. Right before our very eyes, it's happening. And the enemy of the world is Islam. 1,000%. And people are like, oh, you're a pastor, you shouldn't talk that way. Because I'm a pastor, I need to talk that way, because it is a glaring difference. It's a glaring difference. Nowhere in the Bible does it say, Abraham, Ishmael, and Jacob. It's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And because they were, if you will, piggybacked in the covenant, these people are hell-bent on destroying the Jewish people and anybody that will stand with them. So we've given Islam a pass. We've been, it's okay, they're good people, they believe some strange stuff. No, I'm telling you, they're trained for one thing: kill Jews and anybody that likes them. And that's very bold for me to say those things, but it's the facts. Islam is not our friend, and it never will be our friend, no matter how many peace accords they try to sign. I'm going to play nice, but you can't play nice with people that are born to kill you. You can't play nice with people like that.
It's 2025. America's debt is over $37 trillion, and the dollar just had its worst crash since 1973. That puts your savings and your family's future at risk. That's why we trust Alpha Omega Gold, a company that stands unapologetically with Israel and supports Stand Tall Israel. Visit ao.gold/stand to claim your free precious metals wayfinder guide or call 1-855-426-4653 today. Protect your future before it's too late.